Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm Matthew, and this is Watty's channel. We are continuing with the My Favorite LJN Tournament Revisited. So this is going to be the beginning of round 4 and the 22nd video overall for the tournament. So that we are down to 10 matchups. So I'm going to have a 5 matchup video today, or with this video. I'm going to come back with another 5 matchups in the next video. And that'll close out round 4. So I do have the matchups already written down. So episode or video 24 will feature the last 5 matchups. And then episode 25 will take you to 2 matchups. And then the third, well, it depends. I have an idea. So if one wrestler that I think will probably be there does in fact end up in that semifinals where I have 5 figures left over, I'm going to automatically push him forward, and I'll give my reasoning for that when the time comes. But I don't want to give away any answers, and I don't want people to go back to well, if you want to go back and watch old videos, that's fine. But if you want to see a whole brand new view tournament, definitely I would skip watching the last winner, the last time we did the tournament. So, we're going to dive right in, per usual. So this matchup is a tough one. I mean, there's so many tough ones, but this one, it really does it for me because 2 of LJN's best figures are squaring off. Yeah, when I did my top favorite figures, I talked about Stud and Hogan, and it's always Series 1 Andre that I'm talking about. Absolutely love Series 2. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, short hair is great. I guess much more realistic in the face. But I'm perfectly fine with the Series 1 Andre the Giant. I especially like the fact that the Andre the Giant from Series 1 has a more extended left arm. So, let's begin with start with the very beginning here. They both have nearly identical poses. Everything about the 2 figures pretty much match up almost perfectly. You know, pose-wise is fine. You know, bent at the hip, bent knees, perfect body slamming ability, but also perfect to be body slammed ability. Because Big John Studd is more cartoony in the face than most of the other LJNs, some of these figures look really spot on with their, human counterparts. But you got to get into the graphics because weight-wise, they're very similar. Build-wise, size, stance, because it's pretty much identical across the board for the most part, it's going to be a really difficult decision. So this is where the design of the figure really comes into play. Don't get me wrong, an all-blue figure is perfectly fine. I mean, Greg Valentine, all black, King Kong Bundy, all black. 2 of my all-time favorite figures, and, just one solid color does not make it a bad figure. But it doesn't hurt when you have multicolored multicolors on the figure, on the design, and not only just the American colors red, white, blue, but it's a simple star design, but it's still enough to give you a really spectacular figure. And again, like I said, holding a Big John Stud figure and then holding like a King Kong Bundy obviously to me holds more weight. But any of the Andre the Giants, this Stud figure actually has more weight to it. And I don't know, I just like the bulkier figures. 2 perfect pieces. This is not one that I want to sit there and, give an answer right off the bat. If it takes 10 minutes to choose one, it takes 10 minutes. It's just a really tough choice because it's 2 phenomenal figures. Again, I kind of reiterate, I do have a Blackstrap Andre still in the tournament. So that Blackstrap Andre does not battle in this round, I don't believe. No, he doesn't. So, if I do eliminate this Andre, you still have Andre the Giant in the tournament. So that is huge. Whereas if you get rid of Stud, it's one and done. Does that really ever play a role in my decision? I don't think so. 95% chance I say no. But, I try to go with the best figure possible. Which one I enjoy the most. And they're two absolutely fantastic pieces. I love them both. They can do no wrong with these particular figures. I do covet the Series 1 Andre more. Yeah, the Black Shop Andre, obviously, that's the design-wise that I grew up with. That's what I'm most familiar with. But this, they just kind of push the arms in with the Series 2. Series 2 and 6 are the same figure. Does that make a difference? Not really. But in this video, I am sticking with Big John Studd. I mean, the man is just an absolute titan. The 1989 Royal Rumble champion. I want to see that so bad. I talk about it constantly. I just want to see this guy win that Rumble. It's just one of those things that I'm looking forward to. So the 88 Rumble and the 89 Rumble obviously are two key elements that I need. The 94 Rumble with dual champions and Bret Hart and Lex Luger. That one's interest of me as well. So just to show you how Big John Studd. So Big John Studd is being pushed to round 5. Just to show you how he got there. Alright, so in round 1, he defeated Hillbilly Jim. Not a major competitor there. In round 2... Oh, passed it up. That's round 2. I'm trying to find the beginning. I thought I wrote down when the round began. Yep, there it is. Alright, so in video 13, round 2, Big John Studd defeated Andre number 1. Again, an elite figure. Loved it. In round 3, he started off by defeating Hulk Hogan, or the Custom Hogan. So, Hillbilly Jim, not a huge deficit there. But when you got into Andre number 1 and Hulk Hogan, two enormous pieces. Two figures I love about as much as any other figure that I own. And now here we are in round 4, and he defeats Andre number 2. So he knocked out 2 of the 3 Andres. It's just a very beloved figure of mine. Big John Studd, he's not exactly my favorite wrestler. He's not anyone that I think I saw him wrestling growing up, but I don't have the vast memory of it. It may be old Coliseum videos type of deal where I saw him wrestle. Flashbacks or, YouTube, for example. So it's not like he's an all-time favorite wrestler. I just love the figure. So the next one is a good matchup, but it's also going to be a heartbreaking one. Corporal Kirshner in the very first tournament. Obviously, the custom defeated the original, and I think it was quickly eliminated in round 2. This time, he's made it all the way to round 4, which is incredible. So, the custom, Greg Valentine, did eliminate its original counterpart in round 1, and has pushed its way to round 4. And I think round 4 or so, if I'm not mistaken, it may have been round 3. Nope, it had to be... If not round 4, maybe round 3, I think this, or the original Greg Valentine figure, defeated the Series 2 Andre the Giant. So, seeing Andre number 2 eliminated by Big John Studd was, obviously didn't have to have that same matchup. But you have 2 really fantastic custom figures. This one came from Stinger GQ. Absolutely fantastic. I got some of my best customs from his personal collection. And then, of course, Wrestling Writer. I picked his collection clean. A lot of the figures he purchased, over time. Some of them he's done himself. I think this is one of his own. And I love the tie-dye, the paint scheme of the pants. They take away the army, BDU colored woodland camouflage color, and they give this, more seaworthy, navy color scheme, which is incredible. Because Greg Valentine has the better pose, and I love the look of the Rhythm and Blues, I think it's pretty safe to say that Greg Valentine is going to push through Corporal Kirshner. But with that being said, this was not, something where I just picked him up and oh, Greg Valentine. this was something where you really have to talk about it for at least a couple minutes because I love both figures. Now, with the Corporal Kirshner, or excuse me, with the Greg Valentine custom, one of the things that really stand out about the figure, and I mentioned it many times before, this jacket isn't just painted on. It's like they actually took a mold and built a whole new jacket. And so that's why you would never use this as a play if you want to give it to your kids. It's strictly an adult for collections purposes. It's just an absolute beauty. And I was disappointed to lose the original version in round one, but I think the custom with some of its unique special attributes, it gives us a much better opportunity to progress a whole lot further in the tournament. I think the original last time went out in like round 5 or something. So this could be a finalist based on, and all that they had to do was add a simple jacket or something. Well, I don't want to say simple. It's not simple. Two great figures. Corporal Kirshner had a heck of a run, but he is out after 4 rounds. The next matchup is going to feature the custom Wrestling Rider Macho Man or Macho King figure, and he's going to square off against the SD Jones original. So starting with Macho Man, again, the figure itself never had. I always got to readjust myself. I can never stay in one position. So many things to love about the figure. Obviously, Macho Man for me, right there with Hogan and Warrior as one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Love the character, love, the way that he used to climb to the top of the ropes and just produce the absolute perfect arm drop, elbow drop, whatever you want to call it. I kind of like the, was it 91 Royal Rumble? No, the 91 Royal Rumble is where... No, it couldn't have been, because I think 91 Royal Rumble is where Randy Savage or Sergeant Slaughter defeated Ultimate Warrior. So maybe in the 1990 Royal Rumble. Again, I could have it wrong. Where Randy Savage is facing Warrior, and he goes to the top of the rope, jumps off, drops his elbow. That's his finisher. I mean, that one time you're done. He's the champion. He goes to the top of the rope like 5 times, completely obliterates the Warrior, and Warrior still jumps up, still kicks out. And, as a fan today, as a fan back then, I'm pretty sure even the announcers, whether or not they know that it's gonna happen or not, they gotta be an absolute shock because that was absolutely incredible. That's an incredible finisher for Macho Man. It's much better than leg drop for Hogan. Hulk Hogan's a big guy, but, a 300-pound man dropping a leg on you isn't going to hurt quite as much as like a Yokozuna dropping a leg on you. The overall display of this figure is perfect. I mean, from display ability, you've got one of the best figures to put on your shelf. He doesn't have the pose of an SD Jones. I've talked about my obsession with this figure because of all the perfect attributes he has from a fighting standpoint. We're talking choke slam, perfect choke slam. He can throw his punches, he can throw his slaps, either right arm under, or it could be left arm under or right arm under. He's got that fantastic fighting pose. His legs are straight up, they're not bent at the knees, but he does have the legs far apart enough to the point where you could give him a really solid body slam. Whereas Macho Man has one of the worst fighting poses of the entire LJN line. I mean, I kind of put it up there with King Kong Bundy. King Kong Bundy, arms straight down. Savage, arms straight up. Neither one does any justice. Haku, arms straight up, terrible. Ken Patera or One Man Gang, arms up and over the head, terrible. So, I mean, from this matchup, you're essentially comparing two things. Fighting pose against design. I love the Hawaiian shirt. I love the way it makes the figure pop. But, again, display purposes, this is one of the most unique and valuable pieces that I have in my collection. And there's no other way to talk about this. It's designed against pose. I've always said I cherish fighting pose above all else, no matter the design of the figure. So even though I desired the pose above all else, you do have to take design of the figure into consideration. SD Jones has a much better pose, granted. Does he defeat Randy Savage simply because of that pose? No. He doesn't defeat Savage simply because of the pose, but he does have a decent look to himself as well. Is it, Randy Savage-esque? Of course not, but you're not simply, winning or moving forward an SD Jones because of the pose. They both have really solid looks. Yes, Macho Man is superior, but Macho Man will not defeat SD Jones. SD Jones is a legitimate finalist in this tournament. Is it the flashiest figure you'll ever find? No. Does it have the greatest pose you'll ever find? No. But it is one of the most perfect wrestling figures you'll ever have. And, maybe one of 5 figures, maybe throw in a Hulk Hogan or an Andre the Giant, Kamala type figures that would actually have the legitimate chance to give you, a lot of joy and pleasure as a kid if you're sitting there wrestling with your figures. Like I said, with like Sid Vicious and Barry Windham, you have 31 figures in the line of in the Gloob line. If they gave you those other 29 figures compared to having just Sid Vicious and Windham, I'd rather have, if I'm a kid, I'd rather have Vicious and Windham because they're the better fighting. You could get a lot more enjoyment from those than those other figures that are just so subpar. It's hard to kick back Randy Savage after a strong run, but he is out after 4 rounds. And again, I think the last tournament, not this one, but the other Randy Savage custom, only made it to round 2, I believe. So seeing him make it to round 4, I feel like this was a really good run for this figure. SD Jones pushes through to round 5. Alright. Next battle is going to feature Kamala and Bret Hart from Wrestling Rider. Now this is an interesting battle. These two actually squared off in my tournament, in my first tournament. And I think if I do the same thing and these two figures, if the winner that I had my last tournament wins this time around, you could be seeing your next winner of the entire tournament. So we will start with Bret Hart. I said in the last video, or maybe the previous video, I can't remember, but yeah, I've been making all these videos the last couple days and they're all bleeding together. Because of my affection for the Hitman and because I love the LJN line, and the Hart Foundation are such desirable figures, I've been giving so much more credit to Bret Hart as a figure. Talking about the original now, not talking about this particular custom. And, talk about how it could be like a top 10, top 15 figure, but when you actually look at the actual pose of the Hitman, it's not that great. Arms are down like Don Morocco, so it doesn't really give you much of a, body slam pose. It doesn't really give you a good clothesline. It's basically strictly a punch figure. And yeah, you're going to sit there because it's Bret Hart. You're going to enjoy the heck out of it. But you're not going to really be able to do too much overall. The Kamala figure, on the other hand, is easily a top 5 LJN original figure. This figure does everything you want, and even more than figures like Andre, like Hogan, Stud, Greg Valentine, etc. Because he's got that open hand, which at first I didn't like. I would have preferred both hands to be closed, but it does give you that other option to give you that under the chin chop. You can throw your punch. You can still do your clothesline regardless of which arm you use right arm under or left arm under, it doesn't matter. He's got a perfect pose. And like I said, Bret Hart doesn't give you a good body slam, but because Kamala does have those legs spread apart, knees bent, it does give you a perfect to be body slam pose. And as far as an action figure, playability wise, this is about the cream of the crop. This is about as perfect as you can hope for. So once again, just like the last matchup with Macho Man and SD Jones, you're essentially choosing fighting pose against design. Kamala has a phenomenal design to this figure. The skirt to the face paint and not really tattoos, but the little stars and moon on his chest. That right there is so incredible. That is a good looking figure. With that being said, this is about as perfect of an action figure for display purposes as you'll ever find. So, I mentioned before, because I have somewhere in the neighborhood like 200 figures or something, again, I haven't counted them, so I really don't have an exact number. At 200, I'm just throwing out a number. I'm estimating where I'm going to be at. I would say among the top, because it's so many figures, I'd say like a top 30. The top 30 figures, in my opinion, would be considered the elite figures of my collection. And this is probably would be on the top 10, top 15 on my list. And I think that's probably pushing it at 15. 10 is probably pushing it, probably top 5, I don't know. But display-wise, you really couldn't do any better than this. This is all around phenomenal paint color scheme to it with the jacket and the built-on, well, the sunglasses were already there, but this is an overall fantastic look. So just because SD Jones defeated Macho Man in the last round or the last matchup does not necessarily mean that fighting pose is going to defeat the design. Like I said, Bret Hart is a much better figure fight-wise than Macho Man, so it is still an excellent figure for play if you're a kid. As an adult, for collection purposes, you can't really look much better than this one. And like I said, this might be the cream of the crop as far as playability is concerned, but this is about perfect in every other way you can think of. So I've made my decision, and I think it's going to be a fair one. I am going with Kamala to defeat Bret Hart Custom here in round 4. Kamala does push forward to round 5. And in fact, I do believe that in my first tournament, these two squared off in round 5. And I did push Kamala forward to round 6. So them squaring off a round earlier in round 4, I am sticking with that same assessment. I just really covet fighting pose again. To me, it's the most important thing. If you're looking at a painting, they're obviously, you're looking at colors and, how it speaks to you. Sometimes you could have like on Daredevil, Kingpin had a painting of just a simple white frame. That's all it was. It was just like a white background, nothing else. And yet that white picture, if you call it that, really spoke to him, and it's something that cost him millions of dollars. It's like, okay, let me hang up a white plasterboard and sell it to you. So this is kind of the same thing. It's about what speaks to you the most. And pose to me, that's what speaks to me. That's what brings the most enjoyment. Among Wrestling Rider acquisitions, if not number 1, possibly number 2 of my all-time favorite figures. It's just a perfect figure, but Kamala, you just couldn't really do much with that. You had to choose Kamala. There was just no other way. All right, so the 5th and final matchup of this video is going to feature 2 Raider Nation figures. And they are my 2 favorite Raider Nation figures, period. It's Coco Beware against Honky Tonk Man. Alright, so let's knock it out. First things first, pose. I believe Coco Beware might have a better pose. Because of the way that Frankie sits on his hands, he does have his hands bent a certain way, which is really odd. Plus, he gets in the ring, does his little, what they call bird dance and whatnot. So, yeah, he looks like he's kind of dancing. So, yeah, obviously the hands, they make sense to me. It's not my preferred pose, of course. I mean, if you want to sit there and pretend to do a body slam, throw a punch, etc., even a choke slam, it looks like he has got a decent choke slam. I mean, his hands are kind of like, not like choke slam like that. His hands are kind of like they're trying to get it. No, his hand's not like that. So this is a general choke slam. His is like this. So, but it's something that you could do for fighting attributes if you want to pick something out. Overall color scheme with multicolor, which I absolutely love on a lot of these figures. This would absolutely blow Honky Tonk Man out of the water. I mean, all around absolute beauty for the Coco Beware figure. Yes, he comes with the bird, which is probably like my third or fourth, maybe fourth favorite accessory, or maybe it's second. I can't remember where I listed it when I did my my review of all the accessories. But again, Honky Tonk, he just like the Hasbro, the guitar accessory is, in my opinion, the best accessory for the figures. And I just love this figure. It is. I still like the one hand, toss over, one arm body slam. Still do a DDT. This is a very, again, most of these descriptions are based on original figures, not necessarily the customs, because nobody's wrestling the customs. Customs are strictly for display purposes. But this figure, I think, fighting-wise, could do so much more. And it's a tough call because I really don't want to choose on this one. I feel like I'm leaning towards Honky Tonk Man, but I really love the scheme of this figure. And I think Coco Beware was like a one and done, or maybe he made it to round 2, the first tournament. So going to round 4 this time, already at a great, benefit for the figure. Getting the opportunity to bring him up more often. If I could push this one to round 5, that would just be incredible. And I do honestly believe this one would have a very solid chance of pushing forward into round 6. Absolutely love an elite figure in the Raider Nation Coco Beware. But I'm going to stick with the Honky Tonk Man once more. I don't like these type of matchups where you really don't have a clear-cut answer or clear-cut winner. But Honky Tonk Man defeats Coco Beware. And that concludes video number 22 of this tournament. So, in the next video, we are going to feature Big Boss Man squaring off against Blackstrap Andre. Warrior Volume 2 is going to face Hawk. Sid Vicious is going to face Zeus. Bruiser Brody is going to face Mr. Perfect. And 123 Kid is going to face the Mountie. So that's going to be an interesting one. Alright, so only 2 videos for this round. And then round 5 we'll have 1 video. And then round 6 and 7, which will essentially be the semifinals and the finals, I'll put that in 1 video. So after this video, there are only 3 videos remaining. And this tournament will be complete. Okay. It's interesting, man. It's definitely something. I'm going to have to go back and at some point probably rewatch my original tournament. I did save the notes. I don't know if I don't have it in that notebook, but I did write down my winners from each tournament and kind of compare them to the layout of this tournament and see really how much it compares. I don't know if I necessarily made any changes for the most part. So if I had a couple guys square off, I don't know if I put a winner this time through that I didn't put through last time. You know what? Off the top of my head, I pushed Vince McMahon past Bam Bam Bigelow in this tournament, which I didn't do the last tournament. But again, that's just one example. I'm sure there's others. I'd have to go back and actually watch them and see. But we are at 29 minutes. Getting it done at just about 30 minutes is good. I will make one more video, possibly two. We'll see. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I look forward to hearing from you. I'll talk to y'all soon.